Nintendo is a company I think I truly despise. If there's any company out there, especially in the gaming sphere, that I can wholeheartedly say that I hate and despise the most, it would be Nintendo. I am an avid Nintendo hater. When I go to sleep, I'm a Nintendo hater. When I wake up in the morning, eating my breakfast, I'm thinking about hating Nintendo. When I'm taking a shower or even jerking off, I'm hating Nintendo. I don't like Nintendo for many reasons. One of them being that they're very greedy. Number two, they're greedy. And number three, they're overpriced, which means that they're greedy. Alongside of other things, especially their relationships with their partners slash content creators, they tend to be pretty dickish on how they treat their content creators and whoever's associated with them, to say the least. However, Nintendo was actually doing something kind of good for once. I hate giving my enemies their flowers, but I do have to give Nintendo credit. If you haven't heard the news, Nintendo is apparently suing the US government. Over what, you may ask? Well, if you've been around the block for a while now with our current administration, you would know that they have introduced some things that a lot of people aren't happy about, especially international companies. It's called a tariff. If you don't know what the definition of a tariff is, I'll read it straight to you from Google. A tariff or import tax is a duty imposed by a national government, custom territory, or supranational union on imports of goods and is paid by the importer. Exceptionally, an import tax may be levied on exported goods or raw materials and is paid by the exporter. Now, for you few people out there whose noodles don't wiggle as fast as everybody else's, what does that mean? It basically means that when you have an international company who makes and creates their assets and goods and stuff in other countries, and then they produce and then they basically move them over to the United States. When they're moving them into the United States, when they're importing them into the States, they have to pay a tax. Well, Trump's specific tariffs that he introduced over the past year have been insane percentages. A lot of percentages. Actually, almost $280 million, not million, billion dollars worth of goods. Well, at least good taxes. Back when these tariffs were first put into place, all the way back when Trump first got into office, the tariffs got so bad that a lot of companies, especially like Nintendo, who are international companies, had to delay products coming into the States. And that's why the pre-order dates for the Nintendo Switch were delayed, because they were seeing how high the percentage rates for the tariffs were going to be. Though I do find funny that Nintendo, in their everlasting wisdom, is actually looking for a refund for all the taxes they have paid with interest. I just found that funny. It's like even in the good fight, when Nintendo's trying to do something good for once, they can't help but at least be a little greedy. They have to get that interest. They have to get a little bit more. They have to scrape by just a little bit more fucking money instead of just doing the good thing. I found that funny when I was reading the statements from the court documents. Nintendo's lawyers are basically saying that Trump's tariff rates are actually in violation of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977. What is that, you may ask? Well, it was something that was signed into it was signed into the bill basically back in the day when Jimmy Carter was still in office. It basically implies that the president can basically freeze and impose and sanction different things upon saying it's a national emergency to extraordinary foreign shit. Basically it's all it is. It's basically just the president has a little bit more power over controlling what is coming in and out the country. However, the percentage rates that Trump has put into place are very unfairly high, and it's causing a lot of countries to not want to put their goods into the United States, and that's going to cause the whole thing to just go under on its head, man. Fucking sailboat's not gonna hold this water, man. We're going deep down into the fucking pits if this shit continues. In China specifically, the tariff rate percentage had increased to 125% before dropping down to 35%, which affected the amount of money that Nintendo was making from sales, of course. And of course, this is all just a never-ending fight over greed. But I would say that this is a good fight for Nintendo because it allows international companies to sell their products in the States without being taxed out the ass. Because if you're basically, I'll give you a perfect example. If you live in Thailand or Haiti or whatever, you live in Japan or whatever, and you're importing stuff into another country, and you want to sell your product because you want to reach that international market, the biggest market, and you come across the United States and you sell your goods, you want to import your goods into the United States to be sold, but they tell you you got to pay about 50% of what it's worth, and then you start that starts increasing. All of a sudden, the tax rates are going insane, and you're losing more profit than you're making in the first place, and then it becomes dangerous for the international, economic dispute. Basically, it's a lot of big words and big numbers, but to break it down for the simple folks out there, it basically means that when Nintendo is trying to sell products, well, not really sell products, when they're trying to import products into the United States, they're being taxed out the ass and not being taxed within reason. And that's causing them to lose money. And so now they're going to sue the U.S. government. Now, what does this mean for the future? Well, if you don't know anything about Nintendo's got some of the best lawyers you'll ever see in your life, man. I'm telling you, Ace Ventura could never. Okay, these guys are on a whole nother level, man. Nintendo does not lose in the fucking court system, bro. Just like Valve. Valve and Nintendo don't lose in the court system. So if they win this court case, it'll be very interesting because that means that a lot of international companies will benefit from this happening. Because to be honest, I think from the beginning that these tariffs were way too high of a percentage rate when I read about it, and I knew Nintendo was eventually going to do something about it. It was just a matter of time. So despite me really not liking Nintendo and not really liking our administration right now currently, it's a very interesting battle, a very, very honorable dispute of Nintendo to fight the good fight, to stick it to the man and actually do something pretty cool for us gamers and for the international market in general. So let's hope that Nintendo actually does something good for once and not screw it up. But yeah, that's about it. So see ya.